Chapter 2 Zhang Fei whips the government officer. He Jin plots to killthe eunuchs. Dong Zhu was born in the far northwest of Lintao in the West Valley land. As the governor of Hedong, Dong Zhu himself was arrogant and overbearing. But the day he had treated Liu Bei with contumely would have been his last, had not Liu Bei and Guan Yu restrained their wrathful brother Zhang Fei. "Remember, he has the government commission," said Liu Bei. "Who are we to judge and slay? It is bitter to take orders from such a wretch. I would rather slay him. You may stay here if you wish to, but I will seek some other place," said Zhang Fei. "We three are one in life and in death, there is no parting for us. We will all go hence." So spoke Liu Bei, and his brother was satisfied. All three set out and lost no time in traveling until they came to Zhu Jun, who received them well and accepted their aid in attacking Zhang Ba. By this time, Cao Cao had joined himself to Huangfu Song. They were trying to destroy Zhang Lian, and there was a great battle at Qiang. Zhang Ba was commanding some 80,000 troops. The rebel had led his army to a strong position in the rear of the hills. An attack being decided upon, Liu Bei was the van leader. On the rebel side, a general of Zhang Ba, Gao Sheng, came out to offer battle. Liu Bei sent Zhang Fei to smite Gao Sheng. Out rode Zhang Fei at full speed, his spear ready set. After a few bouts, Zhang Fei wounded Gao Sheng, who was unhorsed. At this, Liu Bei signaled the main army to advance. Then Zhang Ba, while still mounted, loosened his hair, grasped his sword, and uttered his incantations. Thereupon began the wind to howl and the thunder to roll, while a dense, black cloud from the heavens settled upon the field. And therein seemed to be horsemen and footmen innumerable, who swept to attack the imperial troops. Fear came upon them, and Liu Bei led off his troops, but they were in disorder and returned defeated. Zhu Jun and Liu Bei considered the matter. "Zhang Ba uses magic," said Zhu Jun. "Tomorrow, then, will I prepare counter-magic in the shape of the blood of slaughtered swine and goats. This blood shall be sprinkled upon their hosts from the precipices above by soldiers in ambush. Thus shall we be able to break the power of their shamanic art." So it was done. Guan Yu and Zhang Fei took each 1,000 troops and hid them on the high cliffs behind the hills, and they had a plentiful supply of the blood of swine and goats and all manner of filthy things. And so next day, when the rebels with fluttering banners and rolling drums came out to challenge, Liu Bei rode forth to meet them. At the same moment that the armies met, again Zhang Ba began his magic and again the elements began to struggle together. Sand flew in clouds, pebbles were swept along the ground, black masses of vapor filled the sky, and rolling masses of foot and horse descended from on high. Liu Bei turned, as before, to flee, and the rebels rushed on. But as they pressed through the hills, the trumpets blared, and the hidden soldiers exploded bombs, throwing down filth and spattered blood. The masses of soldiers and horses in the air fluttered to the earth as fragments of torn paper, the wind ceased to blow, the thunder subsided, the sand sank, and the pebbles lay still upon the ground. Zhang Ba quickly saw that his magic had been countered and turned to retire. Then he was attacked on the flanks by Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, and in rear by Liu Bei and Zhu Jun. The rebels were routed. Liu Bei, seeing from afar the banner of Zhang Ba the Lord of Earth, galloped toward it but only succeeded in wounding Zhang Ba with an arrow in the left arm. Wounded though he was, Zhang Ba got away into the city of Yangcheng, where he fortified himself and was besieged by Zhu Jun. Scouts, sent out to get news of Huangfu Song, reported, Commander Huangfu Song was very successful, while Dong Zhu suffered man reverses. Therefore, the court put Huangfu Song in the latter's place. Zhang Ju had died before Huangfu Song's arrival. Zhang Lian had added his brother's army to his own, but no headway could be made against Huangfu Song, whose army gained 7 successive victories. And Zhang Lian was slain at Qiang. Beside this, Zhang Ju's coffin was exhumed, the corpse beheaded, and the head, after exposure, was sent to capital Luoyang. The common crowd had surrendered. For these services, Huangfu Song was promoted to general of the flying chariots and the imperial protector of Jizhou. Huangfu Song did not forget his friends. His first act after he attained power was to petition the throne concerning the case of Liu Ji, who was then restored to his former rank for his meritorious conduct. Cao Cao also received advancement for his services and is preparing to go to Jinan to his new post. Hearing these things, Zhu Jun pressed harder yet upon Yangcheng, and the approaching breakup of the rebellion became evident. Then one of Zhang Ba's officers, Yan Zheng, killed his leader and brought the head in token of submission. Thus rebellion in that part of the country was stamped out, and Zhu Jun made his report to the government. However, the embers of the Yellow Scarves still smoldered. 3 other rebels, Zhao Hong, Han Zheng, and Sun Zheng, gathered some 30,000 rebels and began to murder and rob and burn, calling themselves the Avengers of Master Zhang Ju. The court commanded the successful Zhu Jun to lead his veteran and successful troops to destroy the rebels. He at once marched toward the city of Wancheng, which the rebels were holding. When Zhu Jun arrived, Han Zheng went to oppose him. Zhu Jun sent Liu Bei and his brothers to attack the southwest corner of the city. Han Zheng at once led the best of his troops to defend the city. Meanwhile, Zhu Jun himself led 2,000 armored horsemen to attack the opposite corner. The rebels, thinking the city lost, abandoned the southwest and turned back into the city to help the defenders. Liu Bei pressed hotly in their rear, and they were utterly routed. They took refuge in the city, which was then invested. When famine pressed upon the besieged, they sent a messenger to offer surrender, but Zhu Jun refused the offer. Said Liu Bei to Zhu Jun, seeing that the founder of the Han dynasty, Liu Bang the supreme ancestor, could welcome the submissive and receive the favorable, why reject these? The conditions are different, replied Zhu Jun. In those old days, disorder was universal and the people had no fixed lord. Wherefore, submission was welcomed and support rewarded to encourage people to come over. Now, the empire is united, and the Yellow Scarves are the only malcontents. To receive their surrender is not to encourage the good. To allow brigands, when successful, is to give way to every license, and to let them surrender when they fail is to encourage brigandage. Your plan is not a good one. Liu Bei replied, not to let brigands surrender is well. But the city is surrounded as by an iron barrel. If the rebels' request be refused, they will be desperate and fight to the death, and we can hardly withstand a myriad of such men. Moreover, in the city, there are many times that number, all doomed to death. Let us withdraw from one corner and only attack the opposite. They will all assuredly flee and have no desire to fight. We shall take them. Zhu Jun saw that the advice was good and followed it. As predicted, the rebels ran out, led by Han Zheng. The besiegers fell upon him as they fled, and Han Zheng was slain. The rebels scattered in all directions. But the other 2 rebel chieftains, Zhao Hong and Sun Zheng, came with large reinforcements, and as they appeared very strong, the imperial soldiers retired, and the new body of rebels re-entered Wancheng. Zhu Jun encamped 3 miles from the city and prepared to attack. Just then, there arrived a body of cavalry and infantry from the east. At the lead was a general with a broad open face, a body as an alert tiger's, and a torso as a lofty bear's. His name was Sun Jian. He was a native of Fuchun in the old state of Wu, a descendant of the famous Sun Zi the strategist. When he was 17, Sun Jian was with his father on the river Chantung and saw a party of pirates, who had been plundering a merchant, dividing their booty on the river bank. We can capture them, said he to his father. So, gripping his sword, he ran boldly up the bank and cried out to this side and that, as if he was calling his men to come forth. This made the pirates believe the soldiers were on them and they fled, leaving their booty behind them. Sun Jian actually killed one of the pirates. In this way, he became known and was recommended for office. Then, in collaboration with the local officials, he raised a band of 1,000 and helped to quell the rebellion of one Zhu Chang, who called himself the Sun Emperor and had 10,000 supporters. The rebel's son Zhu Hao was also slain with his father. For this Sun Jian was commended by imperial protector Zhang Min in a memorial to the throne, and he received further promotion to the post of magistrate of Yandu, then of Zuyi, and then of Xiapi. When the Yellow Scarves rebellion began, Sun Jian gathered together the youths of his village, some of the merchant class, and a troop of 1,500 veteran soldiers and took the field. Now he had reached the fighting area. Zhu Jun welcomed Sun Jian gladly and ordered him to attack the south gate of Wancheng. The north and the west gates were simultaneously attacked by Liu Bei and Zhu Jun, but the east gate was left free to give the rebels a chance of exit. Sun Jian was the first to mount the wall, and he cut down more than 20 rebels with his own sword. The rebels ran, but the leader Zhao Hong rode directly at Sun Jian with his spear ready to thrust. Sun Jian leaped down from the wall, snatched away the spear, and with it knocked Zhao Hong from the horse. Then Sun Jian, mounting Zhao Hong's horse, rode hither and thither, slaying as he went. The rebels fled north. Meeting Liu Bei, they declined to fight and scattered. But Liu Bei drew his bow, fitted an arrow, and shot their leader Sun Zheng, who fell to the ground. The main army of Zhu Jun came, and after tremendous slaughter, the rebels surrendered. Thus was peace brought to the 10 counties about the Nanyang area. Zhu Jun returned to capital Luoyang, was promoted to the general of the flying cavalry, and received the governorship of Henan. He did not forget those who had helped him to win victory. Thus he reported the merits of Liu Bei and Sun Jian to the throne. Sun Jian, having influential friends and connections to support him, quickly got an appointment to a post of commander of Changsha and went to assume the new office. But Liu Bei, in spite of Zhu Jun's memorial, waited in vain for preferment, and the 3 brothers became very sad. Walking along one day in the capital, Liu Bei met a court official, Zhang Jun, to whom he related his services and told his sorrows. Zhang Jun was much surprised at this neglect and one day at court spoke to the emperor about it. Said he, the Yellow Scarves rebelled because the eunuchs sold offices and bartered ranks. There was employment only for their friends, punishment only for their enemies. This led to rebellion, wherefore, it would be well to slay the 10 eunuchs and expose their heads and proclaim what had been done throughout the whole empire. Then reward the worthy, thereby the land would be wholly tranquil. But the eunuchs fiercely opposed this and said Zhang Jun was insulting the emperor, and the emperor bade the guards thrust Zhang Jun out. However, the eunuchs took counsel together and one said, surely someone who rendered some service against rebels resents being passed over. So they caused a list of unimportant people to be prepared for preferment by and by. Among them was Liu Bei, who received the post of magistrate of the county of Anzai, to which he proceeded without delay after disbanding his army and sending them home to their villages. He retained 24 or so as escort. The 3 brothers reached Anzai, and soon the administration of the county was so reformed and the rule so wise that, in a month, there was no law-breaking. The 3 brothers lived in harmony, eating at the same table and sleeping on the same couch. But when Liu Bei was in public sessions or in company of others, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei would stand in attendance, were it even a whole day. 4 months after their arrival, there came out a general order for the reduction in the number of military officers holding civil posts, and Liu Bei began to fear that he would be among those thrown out. In due course, the inspecting official, Du Biao by name, arrived and was met at the boundary. But to the polite obeisance of Liu Bei, he made no return, save a wave of his whip as he sat on his horse. This made Guan Yu and Zhang Fei furious. But worse was to follow. When the inspector arrived at his lodging, he took his seat on the dais, leaving Liu Bei standing below. After a long time, he addressed Liu Bei. Magistrate, what are your origins? Liu Bei replied, I am descended from Prince Sheng of Zhongshan. Since my first fight with the Yellow Scarves rebels at Zhu County, I have been in some 30 battles, wherein I gained some trifling merit. My reward was this office. You lie about your descent, and your statement of services is false, roared the inspector. Now the court has ordered the reduction of your sort of low-class and corrupt official. Liu Bei muttered to himself and withdrew. On his return to the magistracy, he took counsel with his secretaries. This pompous attitude only means the inspector wants a bribe, said they. I have never wronged the people to the value of a single coin. Where is a bribe to come from? Next day, the inspector had the minor officials before him and forced him to bear witness that their master had oppressed the people. Liu Bei, time after time, went to rebut this charge, but the doorkeepers drove him away and he could not enter. Now Zhang Fei had been all day drowning his sorrow in wine and had drunk far too much. Calling for his horse, he rode out past the lodging of the inspector, and at the gate saw a small crowd of white-haired people weeping bitterly. He asked why. They said, the inspector has compelled the underlings to bear false witness against our magistrate, with the desire to injure the virtuous Liu Bei. We came to beg mercy for him but are not permitted to enter. Moreover, we have been beaten by the doorkeepers. This provoked the irascible and half-intoxicated Zhang Fei to fury. His eyes opened wide until they became circles. He ground his teeth. In a moment, he was off his steed, had forced his way past the scared doorkeepers into the building, and was in the rear apartments. There, he saw Imperial Inspector Du Biao sitting on high with the official underlings in bonds at his feet. Oppressor of the people, robber, cried Zhang Fei. Do you know me? But before the inspector could reply, Zhang Fei had had him by the hair and had dragged him down. Another moment, he was outside and firmly lashed to the hitching post in front of the building. Then, breaking off a switch from a willow tree, Zhang Fei gave his victim a severe thrashing, only staying his hand when the 10th switch was too short to strike with. Liu Bei was sitting alone, communing with his sorrow, when he heard a shouting before his door. He asked what the matter was. They told him, General Zhang Fei has bound somebody to a post and was thrashing him. Hastily going outside, Liu Bei saw who the unhappy victim was and asked Zhang Fei the reason. If we do not beat this sort of wretch to death, what may we expect? Said Zhang Fei. Noble sir, save me, cried the inspector. Now Liu Bei had always been kindly and gracious, wherefore he bade his brother release the officer and go on his way. Then Guan Yu came up, saying, Brother, after your magnificent services, you only got this petty post, and even here, you have been insulted by this fellow. A thorn bush is no place for a phoenix. Let us slay this fellow, leave here, and go home till we can evolve a bigger scheme. Liu Bei contented himself with hanging the official seal about the inspector's neck, saying, If I hear that you injure the people, I will assuredly kill you. I now spare your life, and I return to you the seal. We are going. The inspector went to the governor of Dingzhou and complained, and orders were issued for the arrest of the brothers, but they got away to Daizhou and sought refuge with Liu Hu, who sheltered them because of Liu Bei's noble birth.